Pro-Trump election deniers have won GOP primaries across the country, which could put them in positions of power in swing states during the next presidential election. Meanwhile, a key Trump White House official has been subpoenaed by a federal grand jury as the Justice Department investigates the events surrounding the coup attempt on January 6th. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. It's never been more important than it is right now to investigate and hold accountable the people who nearly toppled our democracy on January 6th. Because as we have said many times on this show, they came very close, and they will absolutely do it again if they get the chance. Trump is already in the process of setting up another coup attempt by attempting to put loyalists in positions of power across the country.
Former President Trump's influence is being put to the test, endorsing several so-called election deniers, Republican candidates who support his false claims of a stolen election.
Tonight's primaries testing former President Trump's power over the Republican Party, and nowhere more so than here in Arizona, a state Trump lost and where he has now waged an all-out assault on the GOP establishment that refused to go along with his false election claims. Up and down the ballot, Trump endorsed candidates who deny the legitimacy of the 2020 election. Arizona is a revenge state for Trump. He's endorsed candidates from the U.S. Senate all the way down to the state legislature and even the Secretary of State who would oversee the next presidential election.
I'm sorry, Arizona is a revenge state for him? What's he gonna do, make us live there? Oh, sure, it's sunny and beautiful, but just try to order a pizza after 9 p.m. Speaking of sun, make sure you find a dermatologist you really like because you're gonna see her more than you see your own family. Our head writer's from Arizona, and he obviously has some issues. Nothing says divider instead of uniter more than a former president with a revenge state. You lost an election. Stop acting like Liam Neeson threatening to get his daughter back. I have a very particular set of skills. I can shank a golf ball 90 yards. I can drink 3 Diet Cokes in one sitting, and that's it. So in the end, it's just the 2 skills. And as I say them out loud, I'm not sure how either is going to help me get my daughter back. So this might be one of those cases where you just drop her off back at the house. Would that work? Hello? Hello? Good news, Don Jr. You're my new favorite. You're still number 4, Eric. I don't want to have to explain it. Seriously, why does Donald Trump have a revenge state? Is this the first time a former president has gone on a, quote, revenge tour after leaving office? Like, usually ex-presidents retire to a quiet life of paid speaking gigs and celebrity golf tournaments. I don't remember William Howard Taft going from town to town looking for anyone who didn't vote for him in 1912 so he could kick them in the Hey, you with the Woodrow Wilson button, I'm gonna fight you. I just need to squeeze out of this bathtub first. By the way, Taft never got stuck in the White House bathtub. That's just a myth you learn in middle school for some reason. What a bummer to climb to the heights of the presidency, the most powerful position in the world, and all anyone remembers about you is a rumor some jerk made up about you getting stuck in a bathtub. That'd be like if instead of remembering Albert Einstein for his theory of relativity, all anyone knew about him was that one time he his pants at a Panera Bread. And that was today's dubious product placement for Panera Bread. So Trump is on a revenge tour, crisscrossing the country to back candidates who, if they get into office, will help him steal the election again in 2024, because he has all but declared that he's running again. He keeps dropping not-so-subtle hints, including at his golf course in New Jersey last week.
Mr. President, are you planning to announce soon for the...
You're gonna be so happy.
Oof, what was that low, gravelly voice? If someone came up to me on a golf course looking like that, hunched over, all hoarse and sweaty, and said, you're gonna be so happy, I would assume he was selling discount golf balls he found in the woods. I got a perfectly good Titleist. Also, you want to see a dead squirrel? I can show it to you. You want to see a dead squirrel? A bird ate its eyes. Come on, dead squirrel. So Trump is very much set on trying the coup again in 2024. And even if he doesn't run, or if he loses the GOP primary to someone else, the loyalists and election deniers he's trying to put in place will undoubtedly use their power if they win in November to prevent any Democrat from winning an election ever again. And now that they've won their GOP primaries, these pro-Trump election deniers are just one more step away from taking key positions of power in swing states all across the country. In Arizona, for example, a slate of pro-Trump election deniers have either already won or are currently leading in GOP primaries for federal and state offices, including governor. Kari Lake, the candidate currently leading the GOP primary for governor, has said some truly insane about the 2020 election.
Anybody who was involved in that corrupt, shady, shoddy election of 2020, lock them up.
I refuse to stop talking about it until our elected officials stand up and do something. We want people to be arrested, prosecuted, and thrown in jail.
We have this illegitimate President Biden who's allowing it to happen. But the fake news wants us to think that that guy got 81 million votes. Okay.
I love how Trump supporters keep insisting it's impossible that Joe Biden got 81 million votes. You know how he got that many votes? By running against Donald Trump. Okay? It's like if you told me the Warriors scored 160 points, I might also be suspicious until you told me they were playing the Knicks. And then, you know. And look, you guys, I know basketball isn't in season, but we're in a bit of a jam here at Late Night because our summertime whipping boys, the Mets, are currently in first place. And if I've learned anything from my time in New York, it's that if the Mets are in first place on August 4th, they're a lock to win the World Series. The other day, a member of my crew said to me, hey, we're 3.5 up with only 58 games to play. And all I could say was, why do you keep letting yourself get hurt? But here's what's truly ironic and revealing about Kari Lake's lead in the Arizona GOP primary. She was actually trailing on Tuesday night before more votes were counted and put her over the top by Wednesday morning. The exact kind of thing election deniers would lose their over if it was the other side. Remember when Trump kept complaining over and over about what he claimed were mysterious ballot dumps, supposedly putting Biden in the lead overnight? That's just normal vote counting. That's how it works. But Trump thought it was suspicious.
This election was over, and then they did dumps. They call them dumps, big, massive dumps in Michigan and Pennsylvania and all over.
You guys remember that? You remember when the leader of the free world complaining about big, massive dumps, like he's working in the elephant enclosure at the Bronx Zoo? Oh, God damn it. Who let the elephants eat cheesecake? It's gonna take me days to clean up. You know how when you go to a presidential library, they usually have an interactive section where you can press a button and hear some original audio, like one of FDR's fireside chats or JFK's inaugural speech? I don't think Trump deserves a presidential library, but if he gets one, I hope the interactive feature is a toilet that uses his voice whenever you flush.
Welcome to the Donald J. Trump Presidential Library. Flush the handle to begin your journey through history.
They did dumps. They call them dumps, big, massive dumps.
So now, all of a sudden, big, massive dumps that change the race overnight are totally cool as long as they benefit the pro-Trump candidates, which just shows you that it's all bull, a fabricated pretext designed to justify whatever outcome they want. And that is why we need to root these people out now before they get into positions that would give them power over our elections in 2024. Arguably, an even scarier example is the GOP's nominee for Secretary of State in Arizona, a position that directly supervises the state's elections.
Election denialism is still coursing through the veins of this Republican Party. No better example than in Arizona. The results of last night's elections make clear. For Secretary of State, for example, Mark Finchem, he is a Republican legislator in Arizona, one of the leading voices in denying the results of the 2020 election that Joe Biden won the state of Arizona. He is going to be the Republican nominee for the Secretary of State, the top election official.
Trump's candidate, Mark Finchem, who acknowledged having ties to the Oath Keepers and was in Washington on January 6th.
This is insane. We can't let a guy who wanted to overthrow the last election oversee future elections. I wouldn't keep using Wally as my cue card guy if he started undermining me by writing stuff I didn't approve of, like Wally is the best, he's the most popular, he should host this show. Wait a second. Damn it! Wally! I'd be mad, but what can I say? I agree with you. You would be a better host. Wait! Just stop it! The point is, we need to stop these people now, which is why it is encouraging to see the Justice Department stepping up its investigation of the coup attempt. They're reportedly asking witnesses about Trump as part of their investigation, and now a federal grand jury has subpoenaed a senior Trump White House official who was a key witness to the events that led up to January 6th.
Now to a dramatic development in the January 6th investigation. A source tells CNN former Trump White House counsel Pat Cipollone has been subpoenaed by a federal grand jury investigating efforts to overturn the 2020 election. He's considered part of Donald Trump's inner circle, and the move to subpoena him signals an aggressive step by the Justice Department. It shows investigators are looking at conduct directly related to Trump, as well as his closest allies' efforts to overturn his election defeat.
The subpoena is part of the federal investigation into the January 6th assault on the Capitol and efforts to overturn the 2020 election, although it is not clear exactly which grand jury called him. There are currently 2 known grand juries, one looking at the scheme to assemble fake electors, and the other focused specifically on the events of January 6th.
Oof, that is bad news for Trump. When he heard that, he probably took a few
Big, massive dumps.
in his pants. Also, it's not a good sign when you get subpoenaed by a grand jury and you don't even know which grand jury. Like, most people, if you got called to a federal grand jury, you'd be like, I know what this is about. But these guys are like, I am sorry, can you be more specific? I'm under a lot of investigations right now. The GOP's slow-moving coup is still happening as we speak. If election deniers win races in swing states like Arizona, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, they will absolutely use their power to ensure that no Democrat can win an election in those states ever again. It's not about election integrity, it's about power, as we've seen in Arizona just this week. They don't even believe their own lies. If overnight vote counting helps them, it's legit, but if it hurts them, then it's somehow evidence of fraud. The amount of bull they've been churning out to justify their lies is equivalent to
81 million.
Big, massive dumps.
That was a closer look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV/AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help now more than ever. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, get vaccinated. We love you.